Srinivas Siddhigora Bhaktavrinda. Today is, what is today? 29th, 30th? 29th August, I believe. Yes, 29th of August, 2017, not 1917. And we've been talking about self-envy and self-love. And yesterday we were talking about the general context of the topic of how sometimes when people are better than us, it makes us feel bad, and when people are worse than us, it makes us feel bad. I don't like it when you're lower, I don't like it when you're higher, which is very interesting. And we were speaking about low self-esteem. And before we begin today's class, I want to just recap one point from the last class. And in the last class, the question was asked, but won't chanting solve all your problems? And another question you could ask, well, will these classes I'm giving on low self-esteem solve all your low self-esteem problems? And the answer is yes and no. Because some of us, or some of you, or some of all of us, have some little problem here or there, which we can understand what it is, and we can work on it, and it's not deeply rooted and highly conditioned. And so by understanding where we lack self-confidence or self-esteem, how it happens, looking at our good qualities, not comparing ourselves to others, and so on, just reconstructing the social conditioning that may have caused it, or going back and looking at the causes, maybe it was friends, parents, teachers, and understanding that I was programmed by them, which has nothing to do with my actual abilities or intelligence, and I might be lacking confidence or thinking I'm not as smart as I am just because someone told me that, but it's not actually true. So you understand that through these discussions. You also understand that Krishna is not looking at those things. That's not, his relationship with you doesn't depend on those things. And so you kind of work it out. So that's one way. And the other way, or not the other way, but the way in which this class is not going to help is if that low self-esteem or self-envy or envy towards others is deeply, deeply rooted as a deeply conditioned response, where it's so subconsciously programmed, it kind of dominates. It dominates your social interactions. So if somebody says the wrong thing, then you might go ballistic, turn against them, never speak to them again, things like that. That's when the problem is more serious, more deeply rooted, and that means you're more damaged. Just like some of you may know that when people go to war or people are in traumatic situations, that trauma remains with them after. And their lives are difficult, they require counseling and so forth to be able to deal with that severe stress that they went through during war or during some other situation. So, for those people, you could say chant Hare Krishna, it will help, and obviously it will, but there may be other damage that's done on such a deep level that other kinds of help are necessary. So when a person sees themselves reacting in what might be ordinary situations that we all go through, but reacting in ways that most normal people don't react in, then that's a sign that the problem's more deeply rooted, and it's going to require more help. It's going to require some reconditioning on the subconscious level, reprogramming, because it's gone so deeply that when something is programmed in there, one's natural response is a certain way, even though one knows that's not the right way. So in other words, even though you may understand everything I'm teaching, if your reaction is it's very strong when people either say you're great or people either say you're not great, because it works both ways. Because if you have low self-esteem, you actually don't like it when people say you're great, because you don't think you are. Sometimes you might even think they're teasing you. And you don't like it when people say you're not great, because you know you're not great. And so, that might bother you a little bit, but when it's a big thing, and it's something that's has a lot of control over your life, then it's a deep issue. So I'm just relating this just so you know, that all of you who are listening to this, that if these classes are helping you, but you still find very strong reactions in particular situations that seem to be an indication of low self-esteem, it probably means that there's deeper work that has to be done in reconditioning your self-image. Now, one of the things that we know as devotees is that if you think you're the body, you act in a certain way, you see in a certain way, you relate to people in a certain way. If you realize, or understand at least intellectually, you're not the body, you react and deal with people differently than you would if you're the body. And the same thing applies to low self-esteem, or how you see yourself. When we're talking about self here, we're talking about a conception of self. We're not talking about soul. I mean, you might see yourself as spirit soul. That's a self-conception. But here we're talking about different varieties of material self-conception, which in this case is not, we're not seeing ourselves as a physical body, we're seeing ourselves more as a mind. So if I identify and say I lack self-confidence or I lack self-esteem, that's more of an identification with the mind. This is my personality, this is how I am. So that identification can go very deeply on a conditioned level. And I'm just bringing this up for you to be aware of it. And I can explain some of the things I've seen, just so you can kind of monitor if you fall in that category or not. First, I would like to explain that from what I've seen, it's quite common for people in general to lack self-confidence in certain areas of their lives. And it's common for many, many people to lack self-esteem to a small degree, or specifically in certain areas. Maybe I'm confident about my ability to do one thing, but not confident about my ability to do another. Or maybe I think I'm a good person in one way and a bad person in another. So that is totally normal. And everyone will have that to some degree. Some have it on the other side, which is arrogance, which is, as we said, arrogance is just the opposite of low self-esteem. Low self-esteem means you think you're worse than you actually are, and arrogance means you think you're better than you actually are. And as we said, sometimes arrogant people are actually have low self-esteem, and they're just making up for it. That's how they kind of let everybody know they're great, because they feel they're not. And they don't want to feel that they're not great. And they don't want other people to see that. So they'll overreact on the other side. So these things are kind of normal. They happen with all of us. Like we're in the world, either in the world of devotees or in the world of non-devotees, and naturally we want people to appreciate us, we want people to like us, we want people to think we're a nice person. So that's kind of normal human interaction, right? We're concerned about what people think of us to some degree or another. Most of us, most people, that's normal. But when it's extreme, it creates problems. And you'll notice these problems are created in some form of dysfunctionality. I mean, the dysfunctionality, I mean that you can't just operate normally. You just can't go through your life normally. Without getting into big conflicts with people, without severe procrastination, I can't do this, I'm no good, or depression, or anger, or turning against people. Of course, we all do this to some degree or another, but when it gets more intense and more common, that's a sign that we've been deeply programmed to think that there's something wrong with us, or I mean, if it's really bad, you start to think that maybe you shouldn't live, that you don't even deserve to live, and that's, of course, when some people, when they think that way, would contemplate suicide or actually do it. So, it's on the continuum. There's all various degrees of this. And I just want to talk a little bit about the difference between hardware and software, because some of what we are is hardware. Some of our nature is hardware, and some of our nature is software by hardware. I mean, just that's the way we are. It's just, in this life, we have a certain nature. And maybe we could rise throughout our life, gradually, through purification. But basically that nature will be there. It might become more refined. We may develop more of a Brahminical nature, but we may have another nature, a Vaishya, Shudra, Kshatriya nature. So that's what I call hardwired. There's certain things about us are hardwired. It's our nature. And then certain things about us are not hardwired. They're acquired through lifetimes, and specifically acquired in this lifetime, and that's what I call software. And so when we talk about any kind of improvement or any kind of growth, a lot of times we're talking about uplifting, upgrading the software, or getting rid of the bugs in the software. And that, along the way, I learned something, I learned to believe something, or I learned to feel or understand something about myself that has proven to not be correct and proven to be detrimental. And that is what we would call a habit, or in Sanskrit, samskara, an impression. And so some of us, along the way, were given impressions and that something was wrong with us. And not that nothing's wrong with us, we're conditioned souls, yet many things are wrong with us, but I mean something wrong with us in the way that makes us, in some sense, not able to function in a normal, healthy way. So then relationships go bad. We can't stay in relationships. We destroy relationships. We can't work with people. Nobody likes us. We don't like anybody. Things like that. That's not normal. And those kinds of things are just red flags for us if we see that. Everywhere I go, I have god brothers that kind of like everywhere they go, it doesn't work out. People just don't get along with them. Or really it means they don't get along. They're hard to get along with. And that just happens. It's just everywhere they go. They expect more than they're given, and then they complain because they weren't given what they expected, and they expect leaders to be a certain way and they're not. So they go from one place to another, and the same thing keeps happening. So if you notice something like that, then what that likely means is that you're deeply conditioned in a way that you're kind of naturally fault-finding. You're kind of naturally, people make you just feel that people are down on you, people are against you, people make you feel bad, when that's actually how you feel about yourself, and you don't realize that other people aren't doing that to you. So these kinds of things are where the conditioning, this dysfunctional conditioning is very deep. It's deeply affecting us. It's affecting our normal functioning. It's affecting our normal relationships. Some people get married, divorce, one relationship, then another. They can't stick to it. So there's something, generally I would say there's something that's going on within them that they have to deal with. That's causing the problem. So we began this class by saying, that the topic we're discussing, low self-esteem, self-envy, self-love, can exist on two levels. A level which is not really problematic or slightly problematic at worst, or a level that's very problematic because it's not just a matter of understanding that I'm thinking in the wrong way or I'm viewing things in the wrong way, but it's a matter of that I've been conditioned that way. That's just, I try to change that, and it always reverts back to my conditioned response. So that conditioning has to be changed. And for those of you on that level, you're going to need to do deeper work, either with studying the topic, or with counseling, or with some kind of reprogramming technique, which some people use, hypnosis and so on. Of course, these are not Vaishnava traditions, and you may wonder, well, why am I recommending them? Because sometimes when the conditioning is very, very deeply rooted, some reprogramming is extremely important, because we're just thinking about ourselves in the wrong way. So that was a disclaimer that these classes are not meant to be curative of all problems, especially for those who have deeply rooted issues. Now, if you have a deeply rooted issue, you are not alone. As many people have them, because many of us have been conditioned to feel bad about ourselves. And as I've been talking about this, and we mentioned this yesterday also, that a lot of this conditioning is not necessarily coming from individuals. It's coming from Photoshop magazine covers. I think I want to... let me read something to you, because this says it much better than I can say it. Most of us compare ourselves to others. Mass media beams in the finest looking, richest, and most talented people in our lives 24/7. This creates the illusion that we know all these beautiful, clever, younger, athletic, rich, able people. Because we compare ourselves to people we know, this illusion of knowing airbrushed have-it-alls can make us feel correspondingly worse about ourselves. So what he's saying, I don't know who said this, but I like what he said. The mass media serves us, or dishes out, is like very rich, beautiful, muscular, slim, trim people who have it all and look very happy, because they're always have big smiles, right? And as we know, and as we joke, how they look in those magazines is not how they look when they wake up in the morning. You probably look better than they do when you wake up. So, because so it makes us, he's saying it makes us seem like these are our neighbors, these are people we know, and we compare ourselves to people we know. So you might think, well, these are materialistic people, I don't think like that, and so on. But I think we have to realize that some damage was done and is still being done. Even though my goal may not to be have a mansion in Beverly Hills with a Jaguar in front. But seeing someone who has that with a big smile sends a message that if you have these things, you'll be happy. And if you're not happy, it's probably because you don't have these things. And it sends another message that if you are worth anything, if you're smart, if you're talented, then you should have these things. Now, as devotees, we might say, no, I don't want these things. And that's true. We don't necessarily strive to have a big house in Beverly Hills and a Jaguar. We would know that would be excessive. I mean, if it came, if your parents have a house in Beverly Hills and they give it to you and there's a Jaguar on the driveway, okay, we can preach in Beverly Hills. Why not? Good opportunity. But, most devotees wouldn't dedicate their lives to buying a few $1 million home as the goal of life and a boutique car in front of their house. That wouldn't be it. But still, that influence is there to make us feel like, well, if I don't have a certain standard, maybe something's wrong with me. Especially when you get like 35, 40 and you're still living in your car. Then you start thinking, maybe I'm a loser. Maybe everyone was right when they told me I was a loser. And so, you know, from the sadhu point of view, you're a renunciate. You're living in your car, you're glorious. You're renounced, you don't have much, wow. But by American standards, you are a bona fide loser. So, you know, it's very easy to think that way. And I'm not recommending that all you sadhus live in cars. Although I lived in a motorhome for many years. And it was quite nice. Simple life, yeah. So, but you understand what I'm saying? That just all these comparisons are there. And even as devotees, you know, we don't think so much about, you know, being like these rich and famous people. But the little programming is there, you know. People are looking at you. What are you wearing? What do you look like? How much do you know? How much do you make? What kind of job do you have? So you might say, I don't care about these things. And that may be true to some degree, but there's a little bit that's in there, or a lot more. So we're all being affected by it. It's definitely a fact. I mean, we have to be affected by it to some degree because we live in this culture. Now, if you allow yourself to be affected by it, what do you do with that? You know, you might look at that and go, this is nonsense. I'm not going to buy into this. But the effect is there. So at least you have to deal with it. You have to realize that I'm being affected by these things. I'm being programmed all the time to think there's something wrong with me because my neighbor has something I don't have. Or his house, he just added on another room to his house. So there must be something wrong with me because I can't afford to do that. Why can he afford it? Why can't I? Now, bring that into devotional service. This Prabhu is more Krishna conscious than I am. That means something's wrong with me. This is a very common problem. That if somebody's more Krishna conscious than I am, then often we think that's proof that something's wrong with me. Look, we've been doing devotional service for the same amount of time. He's more Krishna conscious than I am, or she's more Krishna conscious than I am. So that definitely proves something's wrong with me. And how do we compensate for that? Well, in some cases, we just pretend to be more Krishna conscious. Then no one will really know that we're not. And that way we'll be okay. We'll feel all right, you know. Well, at least I look Krishna conscious. I mean, I may not be, but everyone thinks I am, so that's good. Another way we compensate, as we said yesterday, is by becoming envious. Another way we compensate is just by feeling bad, feeling we're a loser, or there's something wrong with me. Or another way we compensate is by thinking, oh, I'll never be Krishna conscious. So this irony we talked about yesterday, some devotee who's more on your peer level becomes Krishna conscious, and that discourages you. That is really strange, isn't it, if you think about it? In other words, that person, his advancement or her advancement should be great inspiration for us, but it becomes depressing. Oh, they're more Krishna conscious than I am. Can you relate to that? Does that make sense? That is a problem. If someone's more advanced than me, I should be inspired by their advancement. I should be happy that they're serving Prabhupada, spreading this movement. But I may become, I could say, envious. I may become unhappy that they're more advanced. I may become discouraged. Why should I even try anymore? I'm not very Krishna conscious. Why don't I do something I can succeed at? I'm not. This Prabhu is so advanced. I'm not. We've been around about the same time. Maybe I should just become a golfer or something. You know, give up Krishna consciousness. I was a good golfer. Maybe I can just do that. You know, do something that I can do well. You know, those. Yeah, you think that's funny, but devotees sometimes think that way. I'm failing in Krishna consciousness. I don't want to be a failure. Let me do something. Let me be a good materialist. I could succeed at that. There was a devotee, and he was a brilliant devotee, just extremely talented. One of those persons who can sleep in school and get straight A's, and then kind of go to a company in 3 months, they make him the CEO, like one of those guys. So he became a devotee, and he found out something about Krishna consciousness which is much different than his life before he was a devotee. And that's that if you're smart and capable, then you can get ahead in the material world because those are the qualifications you require. But if you're smart and capable, that's an advantage to serve Krishna, but it doesn't mean necessarily that's going to help you purify your heart. That requires a different set of tools and a different consciousness. And so what happened was he saw that his life had changed as a devotee because he was always extremely successful in everything he did. And he tried to apply that same mood, mentality, action in Krishna consciousness, but it doesn't work that way. You can't just go, okay, I'm going to roll up my sleeves and in 6 months I'll be a pure devotee. So when he started dealing with all the roadblocks you run into in trying to purify yourself, all the anarthas, all the contamination that comes up within the heart that you have to face, the lack of enthusiasm that sometimes comes, the attraction to the opposite sex, the false ego, all the good stuff that hits you in the face when you become a devotee, he couldn't deal with it because he'd never had done anything in his life where he wasn't the top dog, number one, like right away. And he left Krishna consciousness because of that. Isn't that interesting? You find that interesting? Like he couldn't master it the way he mastered everything else. And it's like, okay, well, why stick around? I don't want to be a loser, spiritual loser. Better I be a material success like I was before. Does that make sense? So that means we're deeply programmed in ways that could be detrimental to our Krishna consciousness, right? So we were saying, okay, I don't want the big car and the house in Beverly Hills, but I'm trying to point out that this conditioning can even come within the association of devotees. I don't want the big car and the house. I just want to be the top dog or the top bhakta, not the top dog. Top dog is not a good qualification. We want to be the top devotee. I want to be the top devotee. I want a position. I want to be recognized. That's the, KC version of the big car and the house in Beverly Hills. Why do I need that? In many cases, I need that to acknowledge myself as worthy. I don't think I'm worthy, so I have to have something to prove I'm worthy. Look at, come over to my house. I got a really nice house, so when you come to my house, I can impress you. So I feel worthy, like I got it together, One time, I was living in Dallas, and about 2001 we bought a house. At that time in Dallas, I think that house was like 3 or 4 times more expensive now, but it was a really nice house, and it wasn't that expensive. By today's standards, it was like you couldn't buy a blade of grass in Silicon Valley for that price of that whole house. So it was an amazing house. It was really it had a balcony. It was 2 stories, had a balcony, all wood floors. It had a beautiful stone floor dining room, and big bedroom, and 3 rooms upstairs. That was so Giriraj Swami came over once. Most of the devotees, when they'd visit Dallas, they'd prefer to stay at the house. It was quiet. So they'd all stay there, and he came over, and as soon as you walk in the house, it's like, wow, this is a nice house. He said, Mahatma Prabhu, the last time I was with him was in Mauritius, I couldn't even afford to buy a briefcase at that time. I'm serious. I had to wait 6 months before devotees could raise enough money to buy me a briefcase. We were so poor. So he walked in and said, how did you pull that off? I was like, yeah, I pulled this off. I just look at, So, not that I was feeling that way, but I'm just saying that we can feel that way, if you know what I mean. So even in devotional circles, I've got the best dhoti, I've got the best sari, I've got the best kurta, I fold my dhoti in the best way, I've got the best tattoo. It's like, where does it end? And so, a lot of times we're doing these things because we lack self-esteem and we just want to get people's honor, praise, glory, and, so because as I said, we're infected. Society's infecting us with this. Compare yourself to others. You only have value if you are, if you can compare to some person. So, like, who are you trying to compare yourself to? That's the first question. And if you're trying to compare yourself to someone that you're never going to be like, that's going to be depressing, because the rest of your life you're going to think, I'll never be like him. What's the use of living? Now, of course, we're joking here and we're also making fun, but at the same time, this is true to one degree or another for most people. So, now, I wanted to make another point, take this in a slightly different direction, a little more spiritual, at least. So let's say, to sum this up, just look at yourself, monitor yourself, see if you're always trying to impress other people, talking, do you talk about yourself a lot? Like, if you're with someone, do you always tell them, you did this, you did that? Like, that's a red flag. Like, yes, isn't it? I mean, we shouldn't always talk about ourselves. Why do I have to tell other people how great I am? I don't. And if I do something great, I can just not say anything. Mayapur, wow. I'm coming to Mayapur, December 16th, I will be there. Start cooking the feast now, so it's ready when I get there. Yes, we'll start our morning walks from December 17th. Anyone who's coming to Mayapur, I think by December 17th, you meet me outside the temple at 5:10. We'll take our morning walks. We actually have videos of these morning walks. We have many, many videos of these morning walks, which Christina someday will release to the public. She's hoarding them now, and she won't let anybody see them. So, yeah. Okay, so then I wanted to talk about something else, which is also, it's an interesting way to approach this problem of low self-esteem or lack of self-confidence and so forth. And this is very transcendental. And so, although I did say that if often we're deeply programmed, we need other solutions that may not be directly spiritual. It's not that we give up our spiritual practice, but we may have to add some other solutions to do some reprogramming. But this is a very interesting one, which could, in a sense, contradict everything I said. Although I think from what I've seen for some people, they've been so deeply hurt that their level of self-care and self-love is so low that they desperately need help. But anyway, I want to throw this out. The goal of bhakti, the goal of a devotee is to please Krishna. The goal of a materialist is to please themselves. It's so simple, right? You would say, someone says, what is material life? Material life is gratify your senses. What is spiritual life? Gratify Krishna's senses. Now meditate on this. Meditate on this. This is like amazing. We all have bodies. You probably notice you have a body, right? Yeah. You notice it when you're trying to get out of bed in the morning. It's heavier in the morning, right? Yeah. So you notice you have a body. And you probably noticed that the way the body enjoys is through the senses. We like to look at nice things. We like to taste nice things, hear nice things, see nice things, touch nice things, right? So material life means basically touching, tasting, smelling, seeing nice things, things that give us pleasure. That's what it is. Oh, you want to do this? Look at that. Touch that. Oh, it feels really soft. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, listen to that. Oh, that's beautiful. That's how we enjoy it, right? Yes? Now, what does Krishna consciousness mean? It's so interesting. You all know this, but it's so simple. And it's so, in Rishikesha Sevanam, it's so interesting. Krishna's senses, not my senses. I try to satisfy Krishna's senses. That's spiritual life. That's it. So anyone asks you, what is spiritual life? You say, satisfy Krishna's senses. That's it. That's what it is. That's all it is. What's material life? Try to satisfy your senses. Okay, so that's this, you learned this the first day you went to the temple. Although we're still learning it, because if we are not always trying to satisfy Krishna's senses, but we're trying to satisfy ours, we haven't learned this lesson yet. But I did want to say that because the principle is that we are trying to satisfy Krishna. Yes, I'm in Alachua. Yeah, because the principle is I'm sitting in my office in Alachua. You guys want to see my office? What I look at when I look out the window? Okay, that's one window. I made an office out and away from my house. And I blocked up the window behind me because I can't use my computer. When that light comes in, I can't see. This is the other window. When I look out, whoops. That's what you see. And I have the blinds on because the sun is rising over there. So, and I could take you out the door. You want to go out the door? Whoops. But I don't know if I can. Let's try it. Just so you can all see what I see. Then you can all become envious of me and say, oh, you have such a nice house, and I can feel so proud that I'm better than all of you. That's the only reason I'm doing this. Okay. This is what I see when I go outside my office. Looks like a park and a forest, right? Well, that's basically where we live. In a park and a forest. So, what we like to do is build some guest quarters so you can all come and stay here. Wouldn't that be nice? Yes? So, if any of you have an extra $100,000 or $200,000 lying around that you don't know what to do with, just come on over here and build a house. And that'll be our guest house. Build like 4 or 5 bedrooms, and then devotees can come here. And if you like gardening, we have 5 acres. You can garden your way to heaven. So, now all of you are asking, why do you have so much land? You're a city boy. Because the county of Alachua will not allow anyone to build a house on anything less than 5 acres. In the city you can just have a small lot, but they make you build on 5 acres. Isn't that it? So we have 5 acres. Like, what are we going to do with 5 acres? Main thing we do is mow the lawn. Yeah, that's what you do with 5 acres if you're a city boy. But we did start a garden. We're happy to tell you. My wife's doing permaculture. And then the deer came and started eating it. So, we have a lot of spiders. We have deer, lots of deer. We have cows across the street, both sides. So, it's, we're living the life, huh? And I'd rather be in Mayapur than here, despite all this opulence. We're missing Mayapur. So, the point I was making, it's a very interesting point, and sometimes I make points that I think are very profound because I've thought about them and I've applied them, but they're so simple, they can go right over your head and you might think, I know that, that's like everybody knows, every Bhakta and Bhaktin in the 3 worlds knows that, that's like simple. And sometimes something is so simple and so profound, and the reason it's profound is because it's so simple nobody gets it. You understand what I'm saying? It's like, it's so simple. When it's so simple, we think we know it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so simple, like, oh yeah, everybody knows that. And actually, nobody knows it because it's so simple, nobody gets it. Did that make sense? Let me try to, I have to explain it with an example. But I'll explain it with the example that I'm talking about here. Okay, Krishna consciousness means, Arthur wants to know, Artur, it is 120 miles from Orlando. Just, if you have a helicopter, you'll be here in 10 minutes. Yeah. So, Krishna consciousness means to satisfy Krishna's senses. Okay, now, if I am unhappy, does that satisfy Krishna's senses? I don't think so. If I'm not happy in Krishna consciousness, does that satisfy Krishna? If I allow so-and-so Prabhu or so-and-so Mataji to drive me crazy, does that make Krishna happy? I don't think so. Do you? If I put someone into difficulty, if I cause anxiety for another person, does that make Krishna happy? Definitely not, because in the 12th chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, "He for whom no one is put into anxiety is very dear to me." So that's clear. Krishna is not happy like that. I told a story where Prabhupada had a servant who was going through some kind of, I don't want to say depression, because depression is now, I think, used more as a clinical term. But, if we use depression as a general term, like unhappy, he wasn't a happy camper, as we say in America. And Prabhupada, it's difficult to have a servant because, if you have a servant and the servant has to you have to be able to be on the same frequency, and you have a servant who's always miserable. It's like, that's really difficult, Here's your lunch. If you need anything, call me. You can't have a servant like that. And so basically, this servant was like that. For some reason, he wasn't doing well, and he was moping and groping. And Prabhupada said, "Go in the closet," and I closed the door. He said, "Why?" He said, "That way I don't have to see your miserable face." Now, sometimes Prabhupada was funny, sometimes he was sarcastic, but there is a philosophical point to be made there, that Krishna consciousness means to be happy and blissful. And being happy and blissful, is, it's a sign that you're Krishna conscious, and it's pleasing to Krishna. I'm getting really simple here. If you know me, my mind can get very philosophical, complicated. Now, in my old age, I'm getting very simple. If you chant Hare Krishna, and you're miserable, you think that makes Krishna happy? I don't think so. Right? It's just like, let's say you send me your picture, right? Oh, I was, in India, I was here doing this and that. You send me a picture and I look at the picture and I write you back and said, I got very depressed looking at your picture. How's that going to make you feel? I looked at your picture and I felt very guilty. I thought, well, I should be doing that, but I'm not. Don't send me any more pictures. It makes me feel bad. So, you're chanting Hare Krishna and you're not happy, you're depressed. And Krishna's looking at that thinking, that doesn't make me happy. You're chanting my name. And you're not happy. Yeah, Arthur's asking, am I happy? Especially after eating bakors, I'm very happy. No, I was chanting japa this morning. It was very sweet. I was very happy to be chanting. Went to bed late, got up early, chanted in the early morning, dark, Hare Krishna. So sweet. Krishna likes that. He likes that you like that. So if you're in Krishna consciousness and you're happy, Krishna likes that, and your spiritual master likes that. Do you know, many times Prabhupada revealed his mission, and he revealed that his mission is to make people happy. I just want you to be happy. There's a conversation. Very interesting to make this point. I think it's a really important point, that Prabhupada wants us to be happy. It's like Prabhu's, Mataji's, your service is to be happy. So there's this conversation with Kirtan Ananda Swami in New Vrindavan. This is the early days of New Vrindavan. And they were speaking about how hard farmers work. He's out there, Prabhupada said, you work 3 months, then you have 9 months, you can hear and chant. So they're out there working. I guess that 3-month working was maybe more in India, seasonal thing, but they were working hard. And he said, Prabhupada, the farmers, or he was talking about himself, he said, we have to work harder than the non-devotees in the city. Because that was the whole discussion, that you farm and it's simple. That was Prabhupada's point. So he's counteracting that, Prabhupada's saying, but he's saying, I have no objection that they live in the city, but are they happy? That's my question. Kirtananda said, no, they're not happy. He said, yes. So the Prabhupada was just asking, okay, you live anyway, but are they happy? So Prabhupada would ask that question to devotees, are you happy? He would arrive and say, are you happy? Prabhupada in lectures would say, we just want to see that other people are happy. So if you understand Prabhupada, his mentality, his mood, his desire, of course there are many things that he was trying to accomplish, but you see this as fundamental, or one of the fundamentals, that he just wanted people to be happy. And if his disciples were happy, he was happy. And he, in general, was not so concerned what service somebody was doing. You do this or that. He was concerned that they're happy. That was his main concern. Are you happy? Are you happy? So, we're talking here about low self-esteem. So if you have low self-esteem, especially if it's very low, it can make you very unhappy because you feel bad about yourself. Prabhupada does not want you to feel bad about yourself. And Prabhupada is not happy if you feel bad about yourself. So I'm just sending this out as an idea for you to meditate on, that if you're ever feeling depressed or envious, discouraged, feeling that you're not as good as someone else or worse than everybody else, and it's just depressing you, just think, this is not pleasing Krishna. And it's not that Krishna even looks at, we talked about this before, Krishna doesn't even look at you that way. Like we're looking at ourselves, something wrong with me. Krishna's not looking at that. You see, the first thing, this is kind of like a little review, but I think it's possible to review. And I may not have touched this point. As you know, Krishna doesn't have a material body. And as you know, we have material bodies. So what's the big difference? Well, one of the big differences is that when you have a spiritual body, the way you enjoy the world is different than having a material body. As we said, when you have a material body, you enjoy the world through the material body, through those senses. But when you have a spiritual body, the nature of the body is ananda. So you don't have to try to enjoy. You have a spiritual body, you don't say, let's go shopping, I'm hungry, I need to eat a banana. If I don't eat a banana, I might hit somebody. We get that way. I'm hungry, don't talk to me, I just have to eat. I'm hungry now. Some people are like that, right? My daughter recently had some problem, and then she was getting hungry all the time, and she was getting dizzy and weak when she was hungry. It was really weird. We'd never seen her like that. I think she's over it now, but when she got hungry, it was like she couldn't function. She just had to eat. You couldn't talk to her, couldn't do anything. She sounded really weak. I said, I have to eat something. Just get me something to eat. So when you have a spiritual body, it's not like that. Your body is blissful. That's your nature. So Krishna, and because Krishna has a spiritual body, he doesn't look at us the way we might look at ourselves. He doesn't look from us as we might look from, to get things from us as we might think he wants from us. He has a spiritual body. So, as you know, another simple point that kind of we don't get Krishna thrives on love. If he thrives on love, why does he thrive on love? Because his body does not require sense gratification. His body is producing transcendental bliss at every second. It's way beyond sense gratification, right? So, if you're not the smartest guy in the world or the most beautiful, that has nothing to do with the relationship you have with Krishna, because he's not on that platform. We're on that platform, therefore we might think he's on that platform. Does that make sense? So, if you're not the smartest guy, or you can't sing the best, or write the best, or paint the best, or whatever, manage the best, that's nothing to do with your relationship with Krishna. So, anyway, getting back to the original point, we digressed a little bit, is that we're concerned with pleasing Krishna. That's what spiritual life is. And dwelling in I'm so low, I'm so bad, I'm so this, nobody loves me, it just doesn't please Krishna. So I don't know if that's enough to help you get over a deeply conditioned response to the world. But for some devotees, I believe it is. I think some devotees, if they understand, if they just get this point that when I'm not enthusiastic, when I'm discouraged, when I'm critical, when I'm depressed, when I'm fault-finding, when I'm complaining, this is not pleasing Guru and Krishna. If they just get that, they could actually stop doing it. It's actually, I'm using the word actually too much. The reason we're using the word actually is because many of you think, actually no, that wouldn't be enough. But I'm using the word actually to say actually yes. If you go deeply into that, that can be enough, just by understanding, hits you on a deep level. Krishna is not pleased. Look at, Jimena says, when I got this point, I had the strength to let go of self-hatred. Like, Krishna doesn't like me. It's like my wife, sometimes when I dress, she says, don't wear that, wear this because you look better in this. And as a Bengali saying, you should dress to please others. See? And a lot of devotees said, when you do videos, wear this color, it looks better in the video. So, okay, we'll wear this color, it pleases my wife. Wear this color, it looks good in the video. So it's similar, like Krishna's saying, you look good when you wear happiness. Don't wear that shirt of envy. I don't like the way you look in that. And those pants of depression, I think they're really ugly. And that hat of fault-finding, ooh, take it off, I can't stand it. So we exist to please Krishna. So if, we remember what pleases him and we think about what we're doing, sometimes we can overcome deeply ingrained habits. We've talked a lot in previous classes about rising early, and one of the reasons I gave, at least initially when I couldn't get up early, now it's different because I actually don't like to sleep late. Sometimes I force myself to sleep more because I'm not getting enough rest, and I know maybe I'll get sick or I'm going on a long trip, and it's really bad when I travel to be sleep deprived, because I get sleep deprived on the plane and get thrown off schedule in a new country. So I like to rest, if I can, rest more before I go there. Then when I get there, even if I don't get enough rest, I'm already well rested. So sometimes I actually have to force myself to sleep. I don't even want to. And I've, conditioned myself to want to get up early. So it's just natural. So, but originally, the thought that got me up when I'm laying there in bed, like my wife says, it's hard to get up when it's dark. And I said, no, it's hard to get up when it's light, because dark, when it's dark, it means that's the best time to be up. Ayurveda says get up before it's dark. It's the best time to get up when it's dark. And when it's light, it means it's already too late. So I was trying to twist it around with her. I said, no. As soon as you see it's dark, you think, let's get up. It's the best time. So, but in any case, that's another topic. But in any case, I thought, well, Prabhupada, many times he emphasized getting up early. And I thought, okay, sometimes I go to bed late and irregular, this and that, and I might sleep a little longer just because I'm afraid my body, my health, I have to take care of it, and you all want me to take care of it. But as a general principle, I'll get up. Why? Because I know that's pleasing to Prabhupada. And that's just the reason I got up, because it would please him, it would make him happy. So that's what it means to be a devotee, to make Guru happy, to make Krishna happy, to think about what makes him happy. And as I said, that point is so simple, but it's so profound because so many of us, we don't get it in so many aspects of our life. So if you're experiencing something, it could be envy, fault-finding, bad relationships with other people, various aspects of low self-esteem, and you can think, this is not making Krishna happy. I will get along with the devotees, I will put on a smile, I will be enthusiastic, even if I'm not, because I know it'll make Krishna happy. That's powerful. And that's the power of bhakti, because how will a non-devotee do that? A non-devotee can try to fake it, but we have a reason to fake it, because it'll please Krishna. So meditate on that. See if you can apply that principle. See if you can apply that principle in your life. It's very powerful. Why? Like I might say, like, well, this devotee, I just don't like them. I can't get along. Is Krishna pleased that you can't get along? Of course not. So why don't you get along? Because it'll please Krishna. Well, I don't like that devotee, and that devotee does things that are not right or unjust or whatever. Say, well, that's okay, but would Krishna be pleased if you got along? Of course he would be. So never mind that devotee, never mind who's right, never mind who's wrong, just that Krishna would be pleased. It's like you want to forgive somebody and say, yeah, but they don't deserve it. They should apologize, they were actually wrong, etc. Would Krishna be pleased if you forgive them? Would Krishna be pleased if you apologize? Would Krishna be pleased if you put the relationship back together? Well, the answer is yes, he would be. So all right, do it. It's not about right or wrong. If Krishna is pleased, just do it. You go to Vrindavan, you go on parikrama, sometimes it's difficult, but you do it because it'll please Krishna. You walk barefoot, why? It'll please Krishna. You do Govardhan parikrama, why? Because it'll please Krishna. It's hot, it's a long walk. It's not because, oh, I don't feel like it, I'm not going to do it. No, it's because it'll please Krishna. So that's what it means to be a devotee. Now someday, that's just how we'll think. All the time we'll think, does this please Krishna? That's all we'll think. But for now, we have to remind ourselves, okay, I don't want to get along with this devotee, I don't like that devotee, I don't like this situation, I don't like that class, I don't like this, it's all about that material conditioning. What do I like, what don't I like? Then we're trying to get away from that. So, okay, I have low self-esteem, I don't like myself, kind of feel bad, I think I'm worse than others, and that makes me feel bad. Then I start becoming envious. Okay, does Krishna like that thinking? No, he doesn't like that thinking. Don't think that way. Stop thinking like that. He doesn't like it. What an amazing way to overcome problems, just by meditating on what Krishna likes and saying, my life is for his pleasure. And if I don't like this devotee because this devotee did something upsetting, and I know that Krishna doesn't like that I don't like this devotee, and therefore I'm going to like this devotee because Krishna wants me to like him, and I have enough bhakti to do that. Wow, then you can say, well, what problem can't you overcome? I have to put the blinds up because the sun decided to say hello. It's really best for photos and videos when it's cloudy, not when it's sunny. So, yeah. So wouldn't that be amazing? We could do that, and just like whatever problem we have, what a problem we have, we can just say, does this please Krishna? So that verse from the Gita, it's, the chapter 12, all the things that are dear to Krishna, one who's a friend, not envious, doesn't put others in anxiety, all these things to please Krishna. So it's so interesting, because we think, well, to please Krishna I have to distribute a lot of books, or I have to make an offering for the deities, or this or that. And just by being nice to someone, that's pleasing to Krishna. Just by by not, not acting out of the mode of ignorance, you can please Krishna. By not, saying what you feel like saying, that you shouldn't say, that you shouldn't say, you can please Krishna. Sometimes you don't want to chant your rounds, right? It's like 11 at night. You really want to go to sleep, like it was last night. Actually, my wife and I, we were so crazily busy yesterday. Actually, we're trying to get a car, and we spent like the last 2 days, just eating up all our time looking for a car, because my daughter takes the car. She has to drive 12 miles to college every day. And if we take her, we got to drive, come back, drive, come back. So we went out to chant our rounds, to finish our rounds last night. And as soon as we got out, it was like 10 o'clock at night. It was like, oh, we have to go to sleep. So I was so tired that I got in bed with my bead bag and I was chanting. And then I fell asleep and I woke up with my bead bag and I continued chanting. It's like, why do such things? Why do such crazy things? Because it's pleasing to Krishna. I'd rather be sleeping, but I have to be chanting. So I got up really early, finished my rounds. I was a bad boy last night. I was so tired. So I finished my rounds this morning, and then started chanting today's rounds. Why? Because it's pleasing to Krishna, not necessarily because I want to do it. That's what it means to be a devotee. That's it. That's everything. If you know that, you've got it all. It's simple. It is so simple that we don't do it. Okay, that's the name of my next book. It's so simple, we don't do it. You like that? Why don't you make a t-shirt? If you go through all my classes, there's 500 hours, you'll get about 20 really good t-shirt ideas. Because when I get a good t-shirt idea, I tell you. So it's like, here's the next t-shirt. Or the next telegram quote, if Gurunishta you're watching, is so simple, we don't do it. Or it's so simple, why don't we do it? In English, there's this phrase, I don't know if you use it outside of America, but there's a phrase called duh. Duh means like, kind of like, yeah, that's obvious. Right? Hello, you say, where are my keys? And they're in your hand. Hello, they're in your hand. Like, duh, they're in your hand. So, in Prabhupada's books, there are many, what you could call duh statements. They're so obvious and nobody knows them. And then Prabhupada, and nobody gets it. And Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is 90% common sense. So, when you look at, I gave a class like 2 weeks ago in Dallas, and it was all about common sense. And so much of what Prabhupada says is just common sense. But it's Kali Yuga, and our intelligence is very clouded, and we don't always get common sense, right? Sometimes we don't get it. So, your life exists to please Krishna. You think about what pleases Him. Okay, so why don't we take some questions? I've been looking at your comments, and I haven't seen questions, just comments. Which, if you're on the chat, I guess everybody could read these comments. Yeah. One time Prabhupada said that the evaluation of Krishna consciousness is based on how much pleasure it gives Krishna. So, you can do something amazing, and if it doesn't give Krishna pleasure, even though it's amazing, it's like, what's the point? It's not pleasing Krishna. And you can do something very simple, and it's pleasing Krishna. And that's considered extremely successful, extremely valuable. In material life, it's all about, expertise and beauty and aesthetics, and everything is just, every blade of grass is perfectly cut and perfectly in its place, and every house is painted perfectly, and the design of the phones and the computers, it's all meticulous. But is it giving pleasure to Krishna? No, not unless it's engaged in his service. So what's the point? That's how we're conditioned. We're conditioned to think if it's externally it's nice, then it's nice. But that's not true. So, is that okay? Yeah. You know, I was thinking about this also. Heeman is saying it's about loving exchange. I'll answer the other question in a second. Loving exchange. I had a thought. Yeah, I was thinking about couples. You know, my wife and I were... I'm able to stay back a little bit before so we're able to spend a little more time together than normal. And I was thinking how when you're very close with people and you spend a lot of time with them, it seems like two things can happen. One is you have a lot of fun and you joke and you get along and you're just like serving one another, you're kind, you're appreciative. Or when you're with someone a lot, you can be very critical. So often the day will not go by if you spend a lot of time with them without criticizing or finding fault. Or why'd you do that? That was stupid. Or how come you turned here? You should have turned there. Didn't you see the sign? I told you it was there. That kind of thing, right? So that's what happens if you spend a lot of time with somebody. That could happen, or it just could be very nice. So I was thinking about that, because I know many couples, they have relationships like that they're always kind of like down on one another. Why'd you do that? You said you were going to do this. And then you're trying to explain why you didn't do it. I don't want to hear it. It's like, what kind of relationship is that? So Krishna's not like that. Fortunately, that he's looking at us like that. And, Krishna's got a soft spot when you try to please him. He's like really soft. He really reciprocates. What did Prabhupada say? 10 times more? He'll reciprocate? Yeah. So, that's the kind of relationship. That's the way Krishna wants it. And so, And Krishna really likes it when you're nice to devotees, when you don't speak ill of devotees. He really likes it. And Krishna really likes it when you don't speak ill of the devotees you don't like. Krishna really likes it when you love the devotees that you hate. That's another t-shirt. Krishna really likes it when you love the devotees you hate. You know what I mean? You get it? You understand what I'm saying. I don't need to explain that, do I? Yeah, Krishna really likes it when sometimes, something you want to eat, you shouldn't eat it, it's not good for you, and you don't eat it. Krishna's like, yes. When you're at the store, you're hungry, and you're about to buy something, and the devotee says, don't buy that. It's grains cooked by demons. It will destroy you, don't eat it. And you're like, yes, you're right. Krishna won't be pleased, and you don't buy it. And you feel really good that you did something that was pleasing to Krishna, right? You've ever done that? And then you feel like, yes. You feel good. Krishna's pleased. And Krishna's saying, thank you for doing that. That was nice. So, okay, I have to pronounce a name here. And Krishna Karshani is going to laugh at me. Okay, Ekaterina. Is that it? Ekaterina Berezovsky. Well, we know that's Polish, right? Ekaterina. That sounds Krishna conscious. That's a nice name. Did I pronounce it properly? Oh. Probably not, because I'm pronouncing it like it's English. But how can I understand? Oh, I did. Ekaterina Berezovsky. Ski or chi? How to be happy when you're forced to work. Give a little of your money to Krishna, and then that devotional work will be devotional service. And think that Krishna trying to teach you things through this work, and now you're in this situation. And Krishna, what do you want me to learn? And I have a chance to be steady, to be dharmic, like Arjuna had to do his dharma. This is my dharma. I have to support myself, or support my kids, or support whoever, or support a project. I can make money. Now, I know you like money, and I know you like food, and I know you like a place to live. If you didn't have that job, you wouldn't have money, food, a place to live. So you can appreciate job's not as bad as you think, right? And if people at the job are bothering you, you can think, Krishna's put me in this situation so I can learn how to be nice to people that I don't like. Thank you, Krishna. You're merciful to me. You're helping me. Ski. Berezovsky. That's what I thought, yeah. Okay. How can I know what's pleasing to Krishna? Well, sometimes you can feel what's pleasing, what isn't. And what's pleasing to Krishna is that you should just think how to please Krishna in every situation, and Krishna will reveal that. How can I please Krishna in this situation? Just ask yourself the question. It's just like I'm looking out here at my property, and you might think, well, how could that be pleasing to Krishna? And they say, well, what does Krishna want me to see when I look out there? He wants me to see his hand in the artistry, the spirit soul in every tree. How can we use the property in Krishna's service? Like that, how could I? Yeah, distributing prasadam to co-workers. How can I be pleasing in any situation? I think what's a really good answer to this question is Krishna says he is a friend to every living entity. So by being friendly even to the people who are kind of nasty, you can please Krishna. And we don't normally think that way, because we think, like I should give them prasadam, I should give them books, I should teach them to chant, and we should do all those things. But that doesn't mean we don't have to be nice to them once we've done that. But being nice is also pleasing to Krishna, Being humble is pleasing to Krishna, right? So, what is pleasing? The next question: what is pleasing to me? Good kirtan is pleasing to me. Prasadam made well. Good classes. I will reveal what's pleasing to me. This is my weakness, and there's nothing you can do about it. But whenever I've worked with devotees who are enthusiastic, who get along with everybody and are very qualified, I just to me, doesn't get any better than that. Because when you're working with devotees like that, it's such a pleasure to work with them, and you get so much done, and Krishna consciousness spreads and everyone's happy. So to me, that's so pleasing. That's to me personally. I love working with devotees. It's just they get things done, they're good at it, it's we just do it, it's whatever trouble, we just do it, we make it happen. I love that. I just surrender to them. I touch their lotus feet. I just love that. But what's also very pleasing to me is when I see devotees getting along with one another, because it's easy not to get along. And we know how much Krishna wants us to get along. So it really pleases me when I see devotees trying to get along. Makes me a happy camper. I say, oh, you're getting along. Devotees understanding Prabhupada, understanding the philosophy clearly, that pleases me also. Because a lot of times we misunderstand the philosophy, and then strange things can happen in our movement. So that pleases me also. Many things please me. Being in Vrindavan pleases me very much. It's my favorite place. I'm probably the happiest. Doing kirtan, probably the happiest I am is good prasadam, good kirtan, Vrindavan. Or of course doing workshops. I just did kirtan. We had amazing musicians in Dallas, and my wife was saying, "You looked like you were in heaven." Really good musicians. Two of them are like I knew from 30 years ago, and we did like a little bhajan night at Yoga Center. It was like, you know, Param Ananda, you know how happy I am when I do kirtan, especially when you're playing the bass. I'm doubly happy. And when Krishna Karshan is singing, I'm triply happy. When Dari is playing Mridanga, I'm 4 times happy. Okay, Manjuali says, Manjuali Radha Devi, what a beautiful name, Hare Krishna. How can we move? How can... I have to go back because I hit the wrong button. How can we remove worries from our lives and rely on Krishna? I think you answered the question by relying on Krishna. You remove worries. You see, if I please Krishna, if I'm doing everything to please Krishna, then I should accept. If I'm doing my best to please Krishna, and I'm doing my best to keep my material life together, then I should accept whatever comes. That's Krishna's arrangement. And that's what I need. It's the best. It's the right thing. And then I don't have to worry about it. Because worrying partially means I want a certain result and I'm not getting it. But if you accept that result is what is meant to happen in the situation, then you don't have to worry. It's going to happen the way it's supposed to happen. Like devotee was saying yesterday, there's something that's going to happen and she doesn't know which way it's going to go. And I said, whichever way it's going to go is the way it's supposed to go. So that's a nice way of thinking. So you do your best, and then whatever way it's supposed to go will go. It's the way it's supposed to go. You know, you always try to do your best. It's not like you just sit back and go, it's all Krishna's mercy. But once you've done your best materially, and you've done your best to please Krishna, then just accept that. Okay, whatever happens now is perfect. This is just the way it's supposed to be. You know? Krishna gives, Krishna takes away. Right? And we see it as mercy. Is that okay? Yeah, I mean, that's the policy I adopt. It's like, you know, it's like there's a certain area that you have control of, and then outside you don't have control of. And so we have to be able to just say, okay, outside this area I don't have control of. It's just, I just have to, you know, accept that this is the way it's supposed to happen, for whatever reason. Because the anxiety comes when you're trying to control something you can't control. And a lot of worrying is like mentally we're trying to control something that we can't control. I hope this doesn't happen. Well, you're hoping it doesn't happen. It may not have a whole lot of influence. I mean, you know, you can visualize it happening in a certain way. This will be better for me, better for our Krishna consciousness, so I visualize it happening. I hope it happens this way. I'm working to make it. That's fine. But if it happens this way, then you have to accept that. Maybe you need to work harder in this direction, whatever the case. Maybe you need to learn something. It should have gone this way, it went that way. Why? I made a mistake. I learned from it. But the main thing is do your best, and then don't worry about what you can't control. And, you know, mentally, if you want to, I find personally, what I find is if I'm worried about something not working out, I find the best thing I can do is be in the right consciousness and do everything I can to make it work out, because I can't do anything beyond that. And so if I've done everything I can to make it work out, I generally feel satisfied with whatever result comes, because I can't do anything more than that. You know, if I haven't done everything, then I can be in anxiety because I made a mistake by being negligent or something. But if I've covered my bases and I'm in the right consciousness and I'm doing it in the right consciousness, then it's like, okay, Krishna, well, I don't know, you know, what do you want? Maybe you don't want this to happen. Maybe you don't want it to happen now. Maybe you want me to do something else and it's not happening. You know, or in the case of like finding a spouse, maybe you don't want me to marry this one because they're just, I've tried everything and they're not interested. Okay, it's beyond my control. I can't control another person. So all those worries are where we're trying to control things that may be out of our control. So, Part of it is not being attached to results. I would say a more elevated understanding of not being attached to results is acceptance that these are the results. Attached to results means you're not enjoying the results. It doesn't, not being more accepting might mean that whatever happens you accept. Whereas don't be attached to results could mean you got very good results, just don't try to enjoy them. In regards to work, not being attached to results it just means that, I'm not the controller, detached. Now, let's read Vrindavan, Pandora's. She's got really difficult time at work, so maybe this will help us. How to be happy when you are forced to work hellish outside jobs with demon bosses who go out of their way to make you miserable. One has to work hellish jobs sometimes just to survive. You know the answer, retire. And when you retire, because the job was so bad, you'll feel even more happy. I would say, having said everything we've said, if you're working a job that is destroying your consciousness, if you can find another job, it probably is a good idea. Because you don't want to be in a situation where you can't be Krishna conscious. And of course the first option is just, be compassionate upon the boss and be tolerant and this and that. But if you've tried everything, after listening to this class, maybe it'll be easier. But if you tried everything and it doesn't work, one option is another job. If that's not an option, then the only option is chant some really good rounds in the morning and read before you go to work, so you're very, very blissful and very charged up in Krishna consciousness, so that when you go in there, it's like, it's just not going to bother you much, We go on book distribution and, people say so many horrible things and bother us in so many ways. But, if we've chanted good rounds, if we've had good kirtan like that, we can make it through. So, fill yourself up. Fill yourself up. Distribute prasadam to your co-workers, definitely. It's also clear when Krishna isn't pleased, because he means saying, you feel bad when he's not pleased. You can feel it. One time said, how do you know Krishna's God? Prabhupada said, you can feel. You experience when you please him, you can experience it. Radhe, Radhe, Sringar Radhe. She's a Brajbasi. Is it not that being attached to the results? Not being attached. Yeah. It's generally the way Krishna refers to it, not being attached. I'm not attached to the results. You get good results, it's, you give it to Krishna. Bad results, you don't become depressed. So the concept of accepting, it's similar, same idea, accepting whatever comes, you accept it. Not in regards to work, not being attached to the result. Yeah, but when you have a boss who's driving you nuts, that is difficult. It's difficult. It can be difficult dealing with non-devotees, yeah. And therefore, I say, what our movement really needs is big devotee businesses in rural communities where we can live together and have businesses where we can work together, or one big business. I heard Bhakti Chara Swami is starting a community like that. They're going to, start a big food business, and it's going to be in Florida. They just bought a retreat center, and that's just amazing. Then we don't have to then we won't have these questions. How do you deal with work you don't like, and so on? Because you'll like your work, and you'll be working with devotees. Unconscious or consciousness, we are creating our reality. Yes. I can feel I may have complete different reality in my own life, but I prefer to practice tapasya. Yeah. Well, another thing, a lot of times we think things are out of our control when we're creating them by our mind. They're not out of our control. So that's, you have to understand what's out of your control and what isn't. Because if you just accept, I say, well, you should learn to accept, but maybe you're accepting something that's within your control to change, and you're not changing it. So that would be a problem. Right? You understand? Hold on a second. I'm supposed to have a conversation now. Okay, whatever. I was just reading something. So, Sindhu Lali, I was thinking of you today. All those morning walks in Mayapur, they're sitting with you. Let's get them out there. We recorded so many morning walks. Think about it. Sringarabhat saying, well, how do we create the reality of our life? One thing that we all have experienced is that we end up in our life, the mind is the driver, so we end up where the mind is driving us. So we ended up as devotees because we kind of drove ourselves into Krishna consciousness. People end up in material life because they drive themselves there. So our minds are creating our realities, and so as you have your intentions, your visualization, you see what you want your life to be, gradually it becomes like that. And so if something bad is happening, maybe there's like fear that we're afraid that this is going to happen, and therefore it manifests. I could never do this, and then that never happens. Or whenever I try to do this, we always have a problem, and that problem keeps happening, because it's kind of like that's where you're visualizing, or you're expecting these things to happen. So you want to expect and visualize what you would like to happen. Like, sometimes when I teach japa workshops, I ask the devotees a question. I said, if you could chant japa, if your experience of japa, if your experience of japa could be any way you want it, how would you like it? Just imagine that. Just get that vision. Wow, I'd like to be able to chant 16 rounds very easily, fluidly, and be focused and relishing. So, okay. So that becomes a vision. There's something to work for. So it starts there as a desire and a clear vision in the mind. And then, if you don't have that vision, it may not manifest, or it may take longer to manifest until you become more clear about what you want. Jivana says we hear so many good instructions. What's the point? We hear so many good instructions and we don't act on them. Maybe. I'm not sure your point. And then we forget them as soon as we walk in. Yeah. That's our conditioning. We hear good instructions. That's why Prabhupada wanted us to hear class every day. Because he knew we had a built-in, it's like you hear something, it makes sense, you think you've got it, and then it's like the eraser, So then after class it's erased. Well, it's not actually erased. What's happening is our conditioning is overriding that. We have a habit. Like, let's say you have a habit, you always go like this. Right? You always go like this. Every minute you go like this. Right? So then I'm trying to break the habit, and it's like, okay, I don't do that anymore. And then unconsciously, I just don't even know. And you say, don't do that. And I say, I didn't do it. And I said, no, you did it, because that's what you default to. So we default to our conditioning. Even though we hear, we default to our conditioning, and so we have to keep hearing, keep practicing. And then another thing that's very powerful is be aware of your conditioning. Because if you're not aware of your conditioning, how do you deal with it? So let's say I have a certain kind of conditioning that I react a certain way in certain situations. But now I'm aware of it. I'm very conscious of it, so that when it happens, I control it. Because if you're not aware of it, generally you don't control it. You don't even know it. Or you believe that that's just how you are and you can't control it. So it's important, just be important to control your conditioning. Okay, I hear something. Let's say Yoga Maya. You hear something, and what you're hearing in class, it's different from the way you normally act. And now you think, okay, I would like to act the way I'm hearing I should act, but I know my tendency is to act another way, and I'm very aware of that other tendency. So that awareness of that tendency can help you be more conscious that it's going to be difficult to act in this other way, and you're going to have to put more attention. See, I think part of the problem is if you hear something in class and you forget, it probably wasn't that important for you. Like, let's say in this class I only spoke about one thing: how you can make $1 million today. That would, if you could make $1 million today, you might not have to work the rest of your life. So that, if you invested it properly, so that would be pretty important, right? So probably you wouldn't forget what I said because it's important. So a lot of times we forget what's said just because it's not that important to us. Oh yeah, I heard about doing this and that, but I went back to my old ways. Well, I guess doing this and that wasn't that important. So you have to make it more, you have to realize it's important, you have to make it more important. And then you're going to remember it because you remember what's important. Yes? Do I have your permission to end now? Because we've gone too long. We've gone an hour and a half. And I have to, laugh your way back to Godhead. Sometimes I'm funny because if you actually analyze Maya, what Maya does is really funny. She makes people do funny things, and our minds are funny. So if we laugh about it, you could actually laugh your way to liberation. Not laughing about stupid jokes, but laughing about how Maya entangles us in all the stupid things we do and all the stupid things other people do, and just laugh at it. Like I do that all the time because I realize that Maya in some ways is subtle, and by laughing about it you bring it out into your awareness, and you're thinking, I remember there was a point where like phones were really small, right? Like small phones were all the rage, and it was smaller. Then all of a sudden they came out with the S version's bigger, and everybody wants bigger. Bigger is the rage, And so it's like I look at that and I think, it's just like, and then they came out with these ones like this, small tablets, and people are on the phone like this. I'm like, that's kind of big for a phone. I thought small, back in the day they were like small like this. I look at this and I think, this is like so stupid, that just like these companies can control what people like and what they don't like, what people think are good and not good. So I just laugh at it. I think it's so funny, and when people, just like wasting time with things that aren't important, I think it's purifying for us to laugh at it. So that's just so stupid, and laugh at it. You'll actually become detached. Laugh your way into detachment. That might be a title for today's class, at least the end of the class. Laugh your way into detachment. Look at the stupid things people do that are so funny, or look at how Maya works in this world in ways that are so funny. The the iPhone X is coming out, right? November 3rd, I think, or 8th, or whatever, right? So here in America, there's going to be people camping out to like be the first to get it. We have a thing called Black Friday. It's a day after Thanksgiving, which is should be around November 26th or something. And it's Black Friday, all the stores have huge sales. And people camp out at Walmart's to be the first one to rush in to get the deals because things may sell. You know, so you sell out. So you look at that, you just have to laugh. That's just like insanity. Okay. Thanksgiving, I'm going to be in China. Chaitanya Chon is asking me, well, I'm going to be in China. Unfortunately, yeah. If Krishna is in our mind and the control, wait, hold on a second. Krishna is in our mind and the controlling, why do we do crazy things? Because Krishna lets us do crazy things. Because we want to do crazy things. Because we're crazy. I mean, you know, the qualification, the first qualification for coming in the material world is you have to be crazy. The second qualification for staying here is you have to be doubly crazy. You know, first thing is you want to go into, hey, Christian, let me go to jail. It looks, you don't have to work there. It looks fun. You know, if I'm in jail, I can like control my cell. Krishna says, okay, go to jail and you have full control of your jail cell. And then you get in the jail cell and you start painting it, go leafing it, you know, decorating it. So, number one, we are crazy enough to want to come into the jail cell. Number two, we're crazy enough to want to stay there. So that's the only explanation. It's madness. And Krishna lets us be mad because that's what we want. He's like, okay, you want to be mad? Be mad. But as we know, Krishna has designed the world that, you know, nothing's going to work out perfectly. And when it doesn't work out perfectly, in some lifetime, we're going to say, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why is it like this? And we're going to become Krishna conscious. That's just it. You know, if Krishna doesn't allow us to do crazy things, how will we ever know that crazy things don't work? And so our whole life as devotees is going to be, we do this, it's Krishna conscious. We do that, it's not Krishna conscious. We suffer, we enjoy, we suffer, enjoy. We go back and forth. At some point, we're going to go, I think I should just do this, because I've given up on this other side, it doesn't work. I thought it could work. I thought I could outsmart Maya. Actually, I thought I could tweak it this way, tweak it that way, do this, do that, buy this, buy that, sell this, sell that, move here, wear this shirt, make a relationship with this person, try to become famous in this way. It didn't work out. Okay, I give up. You know. So the sooner we understand that, the better, and get on with our Krishna conscious business. So we're just like, you know, wasting time here. Just get on with your Krishna consciousness. This other stuff, you know, everything else that takes you away from Krishna, just wrap it up and put it in a little bag and throw it away. And if you can't wrap it up, put it in a bag and throw it away, you have to use it for Krishna. Okay, I like doing all this other stuff. Do it, bring it to the other side. Do it for Krishna. But don't just do it for sense gratification. That's completely a waste of time. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you. And tomorrow, yeah, it's not daylight saving, so tomorrow we're doing class at 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 6:15 a.m. is 2 hours and 15 minutes earlier than this class started. So we do that specifically for Australia, but everyone's invited, so we'll see you tomorrow. And I'm so excited. This internet service I've got, which doesn't work anywhere in the city, works in my office. So we've been uninterrupted in our classes here. Isn't that fantastic? So, yeah. This is I think the fourth internet service I've gotten since I came here. I've spent hundreds of dollars trying to get an internet service that works. This is America. It's like, what's happening to America? And our internet service in the house is horrible. America's gone down the tubes. Okay. Hare Krishna, all glories to Prabhupada.